is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. More questions about the food assistance program. The Social Services Minister says we can't account to the World Bank for a loan. After that learning loss survey, the president of the Teachers Union is asking, what will the government do? And a clash over some tweets about that infamous slap. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of the new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Don Sargent will be joining us. Also, this morning we'll tell you about a special event coming up this week to help the disabled in the community. And later in Morning Blend Business, we are dissecting some of what the IMF said last week about taxes. Are they onto something or totally off the mark? We're going to be talking about that. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the World Bank has requested details on how its funding for food assistance during the pandemic was used to help Bahamians. That's according to Minister of Social Services Obi Wilshcombe, who says that the government has not been able to provide the information because it does not have it. Wilshcombe saying, quote, "We've been unable to provide the data that they have been asking for. They wanted to know about the distribution and the exact numbers to single mothers. They wanted to know the number of children involved. They wanted to know those kinds of details because it helps in further consideration of anything they want to do in the Bahamas. Then, of course, it gives you a tracking opportunity to determine the level to which we have problems in our country." In May 2021, the World Bank approved a $100 million COVID-19 response and recovery development policy loan to the country to support the Bahamas' efforts to provide pandemic relief and lay the foundation for resilient economic recovery. That included employment benefits and provide food assistance to those workers and households most affected by the COVID crisis and measures to develop an inclusive vaccination policy. Wilshcombe says the government has had one or two meetings with the World Bank, but they've not been able to answer some of those questions, but also saying they couldn't deny that it was a good idea to try to assist as best as they could and work with NGOs. But he says, quote, "You expect a level of accountability because we do have to answer. I'm embarrassed when I can't answer the World Bank, who was asking questions relative to the money spent and asking for the data, and we have none to provide." Amid concerns over the high level of violent crime in the country, particularly New Providence, Leader of the Opposition, Michael Pintard, offering a range of recommendations to help address the problem. He says that with the country seeing and particularly New Providence, seeing an unusual increase in violent crimes, He says the increase is of deep concern to members of the opposition and himself. His recommendations were divided into operational, administrative, and intersectoral measures to be taken in the short term and medium term. Among the immediate operational steps, Pindar recommended increasing police presence in hotspots, deploying intelligence officers throughout the inner-city communities, and extending the Neighborhood Watch program to over-the-hill communities. He also said efforts should be made to eliminate the habitat where criminality flourishes and getting rid of derelict cars, dilapidated houses, overgrown lots, and gathering spots for known criminal enterprises. He also said more attention needs to be given to border protection and inspections, particularly of pleasure craft and private planes. Pindar suggesting that drones be used in a broader capacity and their deployment tied to the shot spotter system, which identifies gunshots in real time in communities where it has been set up. A man who impregnated a 14-year-old schoolgirl sentenced to 4 years in prison as part of a plea deal. Justin Pratt's prison sentence took effect from March 28th. Following his release from prison, Pratt will be on probation for 3 years. If he commits any crime during the probation period, Pratt will spend 2 years in prison. The 40-year-old pleaded guilty to 5 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse when he appeared before Supreme Court Justice Renee McKay. Police found the child at Pratt's home around 9 a.m. on January 14, 2020, after investigating a tip from an anonymous caller. The officers allegedly heard sexual noises coming from the apartment. Following the results of a survey on the level of learning loss experienced in the country following the pandemic, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson questioning what steps the government intends to take to improve learning for students. She says now that the ministry has the data, now what? She says, quote, I have pertinent questions. What changes will be made to the curriculum? What new policies will be created and adopted? What new strategies will be implemented to ensure that the same things will not reoccur if we have to revert to fully online learning? Overseas, the first face-to-face talks in 2 weeks between Russia and Ukraine began today in Turkey, raising flickering hopes that there could be progress toward ending a war that has ground into a bloody campaign of attrition. Ahead of the meeting in Istanbul, the Ukrainian president said his country is prepared to declare neutrality, as Moscow has demanded, and is open to compromise over the contested eastern region of Donbass, comments that might lend momentum to negotiations. But he's warning the ruthless war continues, and even negotiators assembled. As they did, Russian forces hit an oil depot in western Ukraine and a government building in the south. The Turkish president told the two sides that they had an historic responsibility to stop the fighting. A longtime ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has been sanctioned by Britain and the EU, one billionaire, Roman Abramovich, the owner of the Chelsea Football Club, is playing a mediating role. A Kremlin spokesperson says that Abramovich has been ensuring certain contacts between the Russian and Ukrainian sides, and his role was approved by both countries. In sports, Bahamian legend in track and field, part of a couple of iconic races in Bahamian history, is stepping away from the track. Michael Matthew, the third runner of the Bahamas' Golden Knights from the 2012 London Olympics and the anchor from the Bahamas' mixed relay team at the 2017 World Relay Championships in the Bahamas, retiring from athletics after more than a 20-year career. The 37-year-old from Freeport came up as a promising junior specializing in the 400 meters and continuing that trend right into the senior ranks. Matthew running what was a junior national record at the time of 46.47 seconds in the 400 meters in 2003, earning a bronze medal at the Pan Am Junior Championships in Bridgetown, Barbados that year. Matthew ran sub 46 seconds for the first time in 2006 and eventually got down to 45 seconds flat to end his career as the 10th fastest You can read more about Michael Matthew as the Golden Knight calls it a day in today's Guardian Sports section. And from college basketball, NCAA Women's Championships, there will be plenty of familiar faces at the Women's Final Four in Stanford, South Carolina. Stanford, South Carolina, Louisville, and UConn will be heading to Minneapolis, those four. With all the upsets that occurred during the women's NCAA tournament this year, a record number of three number one seeds and number 2 UConn remain. UConn has been the stalwart of the group, reaching the Final Four an eye-popping 14 straight times. The team has been to a total of 21 national semifinals and won a record 11 championships. They'll face defending champion Stanford, which has been to 15 Final Fours. Louisville will play South Carolina in the first semifinal Friday night. The two schools are each playing in their 4th Final Four. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got high pressure over the area. That will continue to provide dry and tranquil weather conditions across the country. Beachgoers should exercise caution due to the moderate risk of rip currents along north and east coast beaches. For all areas today, we're looking at partly to mostly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions, becoming mostly fair and mild tonight. Small craft caution is in effect for the central and southeast Bahamas. Winds north to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, but falling light and variable at times in the northwestern islands. Northeasterly at 10 to 15 knots, or 15 to 20 knots in the central and southeast Bahamas. Seas 2 to 4 feet in the northwestern islands, but 4 to 6 feet in the central and southeastern islands. Off to a comfortable start. We're at about 64 degrees right now in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 83 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius today. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. That's your first look at weather and traffic in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
You're listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796 on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC. Remember, standard text rates apply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Don Sargent. Good morning, Don.
Morning, Dwight.
Hope you're doing well. Yes, okay. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Coming up today, in traffic, of course, and in our 8 o'clock hour, we'll tell you about the Disability Empowerment Retreat that's coming up. An event that they're hosting, the Disability Empowerment Retreat. And why they need your support. Later in Morning Blend Business, we're talking about the IMF and some recommendations they made recently about corporate taxes, the fact that we need them, VAT, raising the VAT, yeah, and raising interest rates as well. What's the IMF into? Well, we'll find out more. We'll talk more about that coming up in our 9 o'clock hour. But now let's talk about what else is in the news. And in the news, gas prices, people losing their minds yesterday about these prices that are in most places over $6 now. And just a matter of time before it's over $6 everywhere in New Providence. We're going to get to that in just a bit. Just want to mention the lead story in today's Nassau Guardian about the World Bank and the Social Services Minister saying they can't account to the World Bank on a loan. Now, this isn't about lost funds. It seems. This is about just explaining how the money was used and some specifics that the World Bank is asking for. So let's just quickly read to you what Obi Wilshcombe, So Wilshcombe says that the government has had one or two meetings with the World Bank. And he said, quote, questions will have to be answered, but you cannot deny that it was a good idea to try to assist as best as you can and work with NGOs. But you do expect a level of accountability because we do have to answer. I'm embarrassed when I can't answer the World Bank, who is asking questions relative to the money spent and asking for the data, and we have none to provide. I think our country should not place itself in that position. So what the World Bank wanted to know was the distribution and the exact numbers to single mothers. They wanted to know the number of children involved. They wanted to know just exactly how it went to help people. And, we use the pandemic as an excuse for everything, including apparently not keeping the best records, unfortunately. But people will see that headline and think they're not more with the money issue. There's been so many issues with money popping up that wasn't used, and so many questions about what happened there. But accountability, and when you're dealing with the international companies, you definitely have to do that. Can't do it the way you would run your steakhouse or something. I guess. But hey, pick up today's National Guardian to read more about that. All right, so the gas prices, as we said, they are over $6. We told you about that yesterday, and there was strong reaction across the board on this. And, of course, nobody's happy about it. And the feeling of hopelessness and helplessness is sinking. Reaction. Take a listen to this report from our Jared Higgs.
Rubus is at $6.33, Esso at $6.16, and Shell at $5.50 per gallon, leaving many consumers feeling the pinch.
Gas prices are outrageous. They're trying to kill the people.
The price of gas is ridiculous. You basically have to go to work and then go back home because, it's just, I don't understand. I don't get it.
While Shell is cheaper, noted economist Gowan Bowe expects that price to increase soon too. He says the price of oil is volatile, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And most of the price differential amongst the fuel distributors is very short-lived.
The Nassau Guardian also got reaction from members of the public. Pretty much everybody we interviewed wants government to intervene and lower taxes on gas. It's what Barbados' Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, did. This 36-year-old music engineer wants government to help out.
Almost definitely. They need to, I think it's ridiculous. You could increase all the prices on everything else, but our paycheck is still the same.
But Bowe, Fidelity Bank's chief executive, says there's a different price to pay. Lower taxes will mean lower revenue. Barbados gave up $12.5 million in annual revenue by reducing its tax.
The government of the Bahamas can lower its taxes on fuel, but then it's going to have to lower its expenditure in other areas, and that may be in some very specific social assistance or other services that we would say, well, no, we don't want you to reduce those as well.
Bowe says the alternative is consumers being mindful of their energy use. The rise in prices comes on the heel of a global pandemic that saw thousands of Bahamians out of work for several months at least. 48-year-old Donald McIntosh has only been out of work for a year and a half. The increase in the cost of living, especially tough on him.
And I was struggling, so right now I'm just getting myself back together.
Bowe says the future of oil prices is uncertain, and the volatility explains why prices have gotten so high.
The current market price is certainly stubbornly staying above $100 a barrel, when persons can remember where it was consistently around $30 to $50 a barrel for a number of the past few years. And so that gives you sort of a sufficient indicator to demonstrate that actually the open market price certainly has increased at least twofold, if not threefold.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
Boy. All right, so let's get your reaction to it. We're going to hear another report in a moment about what the wholesalers are saying, how they have little to do with this as well. But that talk, you heard that in the report, people calling for tax caps, gas tax caps, or elimination, at least for a period of time, something, reduction, anything. But we've talked about it before. The Prime Minister says, well, yeah, we could do it. You mentioned what Barbados did, but they also had to scrap these other things they were doing or hold back or cut back on those things. And are you prepared for that? Some people will say, yeah, perhaps we are. I mean, depending, we could find, I'm sure, a lot of fat to trim, right? But what say you on this? Let's hear from you on this.
We always say, Dwight, that there's a lot of fat to trim, but do we ever trim it, though?
No. But there's still a lot of fat. You could cut back on some paying for some trips that people make to your place. You could do that to scale it back a little bit.
That's not going to happen. Right? That's fantasy. I do share the concern of a lot of citizens. I went to the gas station and saw, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was Sunday. It was $6.33. I was horrified how little $12 actually did to my tank.
Wow!
And
what?
I went straight home, and I think
you didn't have any shame putting that in there. I mean, $12.
Why? It wasn't only me one doing it, because I guess not everybody was aware. Because I remembered gas. I think the last time I got into about a day or two prior to that would have been about $5 40-something cents a gallon. And that was at least 2 gallons that I'd put in, and I knew that could get me quite some distance. But now that's not even 2 gallons anymore. But also not just that, I had to take to the internet and just scour to see what people were saying about the prices and who had the cheapest prices, because they didn't have a newspaper in front of me with a gas tracker. And I eventually found it was Shell, and I dashed there, and I saw that I was not the only person that caught on to that. And I know that's not going to last either. And unfortunately, it's only slated to get worse, I think, for the next, I wouldn't even say a couple of weeks, more like a couple of months, as the push grows essentially stronger and stronger to with these sanctions and isolation of Russia, which is a sizable chunk, was 25% of the entire market being shut out. Saudi Arabia refusing to increase oil production and essentially turning their back on the United States on their requests for increasing oil production due to very silly mistakes made by the current administration in office. But that's another conversation. We're going to see elevated prices for a very long time. I dare say probably for almost the rest of the year, even if the war is to conclude within the next 2 weeks, which it won't, but let's say that it did. The sanctions will likely stay in place. So we're going to see these elevated prices for a very long time, and the ripples in the market aren't just going to disappear within the span of a week or two.
What happened to that talk? Remember that about us potentially getting fuel directly from Saudi Arabia? Remember that?
Like it doesn't matter now, because even if we did buy directly from Saudi Arabia, even if we did get it for a slightly cheaper price, the supply is still choked, and everybody's trying to buy direct and backroom deals and find other ways to supplement. And some countries, it's a wonky game. I remember in international politics and international diplomacy, it's a bit like a card game, except everybody's cheating. So it's never that straightforward. And especially now in the current context, it's not going to do much to change our current reality. And they're not going to make special concessions for the Bahamas either.
Yeah.
Because now is a time where gas and oil producing countries essentially make way with like highway bandits and make obscene amounts of money. So I just throwing that out there. So this is something we're going to be bracing for a while.
Yeah. Well, I see that the government likes to, so they're going to say they can't reduce this tax even temporarily. They can't cap it or anything like that. Temporarily, at least, if they can't do that. But they like to put new taxes on us and raise taxes or go after taxes aggressively. How about a temporary, as I said, I think last week on the show, temporary casino tax, since we don't do that? Just, to help us out, since you all are seeing some slight booms and stuff. No? Would they shut down the place? They'd shut down and pull out the country until we come to our senses?
That's rather unlikely to be a scenario.
Any scenario that doesn't involve the payment people being burdened is unlikely, it seems.
Yes. Well, regardless, there is no scenario where it doesn't happen, because even if they decide to essentially reduce it or temporarily cap it at a certain amount and forego more revenue, the government's just going to have to borrow more money, which you're going to pay more in the long run for it anyway. We're not going to avoid in this situation the economic brutality that will be upon us. You either pay for it now or pay for it twice as much later. I don't like that reality, Dwight, and maybe there's another way to go about that. But after even myself reading that IMF report, I could not see how what we're doing is sustainable. Even if we were to follow through with that plan, I have several questions about that, like how that's going to work with the cost of living, because that would make us.
Well, I don't think it was really seriously taking them. No one's taking them that seriously, but definitely something has to be done. But there are these loopholes.
The most expensive country on the planet, I dare say.
We're not that yet. Oh, there are loopholes. There are people here who their industries, sectors here that are not being taxed or sufficiently taxed, and everybody else is picking up the slack. And in times like this, perhaps it is time to consider, at least temporarily, having those folks help to pull up the slack. But we won't do that because it'll make them uncomfortable and they will threaten to shut everything down, it seems. Let's go to the phone lines and then we'll get to that other report. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us 422-4796. Also tell us about how these prices are impacting you already and the shock that you saw, like Dawn at the pump the other day or yesterday or expecting today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Ben. Two things. I'd like to give you a solution for energy costs. Note about this World Bank situation. Firstly, you're familiar with your vehicle structure. You have an alternator that charges a battery when the engine is running. Follow me. This is not debatable. This is what I do. And what you do is you get an electric vehicle, and you put an alternator in it, and you also put an additional battery in it. So now you have the major 35,000-volt battery that you're never going to touch, and two 12-volt batteries and an alternator in your electric vehicle. While one is charging, the other one is being used. And you just have a switch to switch between both. Now, I said enough. Those who know how to do that will do it. Those who don't will argue about me. We will just argue forever. I'm not listening to the arguments because I know what I'm saying. But this World Bank
Did you do this to your vehicle? Have you done? You've done this to yours?
Yes.
We need an electric car, though.
It could be. It's so simple to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't showing it off because I don't need too much attention. I'm just telling you, go do it. Go do it. I don't need the publicity. Go do it.
So do you use
right
gas
there.
at all?
You don't need gas at all, and the battery lasts for 6 months. All right, you have two 12-volt batteries and an alternator in an electric car. No one's doing it.
But you have
and
to
you can
have
actually,
an electric
you can
car
do this
first.
if you know
No,
how
he's
to do
saying
it.
to convert your car to electric, basically.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You're basically converting your gas vehicle to an electric.
No, your electric vehicle. You are taking your electric vehicle and putting an alternator in it to charge up another battery. And you're switching between two batteries, so you never need to get a charger for your electric vehicle. Do you understand me?
Oh, Lord. Okay, I mean, is that...
Think about it. Listen to the recording over again, and it'll come to you. But I want to ask you about this World Bank situation. Is it that they're not going to lend us any more money or give us any more money charitably because we cannot account for how we use the donations given to us? Is that where we are?
Or they'll give you one of those, teachers... turning their head and going, tisk tisk to you. That's not what I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but
Okay,
I think you might get just a stern warning and the disapproving look of your teacher, shaking their head like that's not what I asked you to do, that kind of thing. I'm not sure, but we will see.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, so that is what he was saying, Don. Okay. Well, who was that going to help?
Well, if you have an electric car, then that's great. I'm not going to disparage anybody selling electric cars, but I just like to say that the current market for electric cars that's available to most Bahamians absolutely sucks. The prices are too high, and the range on the cars is pretty bad.
No, I don't know about the range. But the prices, perhaps.
No,
but that's not
is
much to do with them. That's just the prices of the
No,
electric
it
vehicles.
actually it does. I think if you're in the instance where you have the kind of capital to buy an electric car, used or brand new, you should explore your options. That's the polite way that I will put things. There's also things like Nissan Leafs are available that you can import from Japan. There are people who've also made businesses out of these things.
You're talking about used, though.
Yes, I am
Yeah.
talking about used.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of things are coming on stream now. A lot of brands are switching 100% to electric for their lineups. I don't know how that's going to impact things in the Bahamas in the short term, simply because the cost of importation of a car is high, even though it's only going to be 10%. Electric cars do cost, I think, on average, 25% more than their gas counterparts. So the savings aren't really going to pass on to Bahamians anytime soon.
Well, unless the government adjusts that cap.
They're not. It's not going to happen. If anything, they should remove taxes off of electric vehicles in its entirety. And you're going to get us anyway on the cost of car parts, which we shouldn't need much of those if you have an electric car. But the current standing is that it's 10% duty and then obviously the 10% value-added tax and a 1% processing fee. So it comes out, when you add everything up together, somewhere around 22% an additional, as compared to 65% added. Excluding value-added tax, comes out to 75% to import a gasoline-powered car. And I'm assuming it's going to be used and under the value of $50,000. So I'm just saying this to say there isn't much reprieve coming on, even with electric cars for the Bahamas, because it's very expensive. And further complicating that is the thing said by the IMF with raising interest rates and everything. A lot of the measures would make the access to capital more expensive, thus making any attempt to switch away from gasoline for this country and for the average payment even more expensive. So it's an incredibly complex situation, and I'm not sure what solutions we have.
No, that's a very fatalistic sound stance,
I think
Don. I don't think it's as that bad, but it's not good. But it's not as bad as you're saying. And the government can really do something here. This is a lot of this is our own making, and it doesn't have to be like this. Again, the courage is not there to go after the holes, to go and fill those holes. That's the big problem here, and because everybody wants to keep the status quo, not ruffle the feathers of those who are enjoying their best lives in this country, but they will stick it to us. And that is just totally unnecessary. We're not at that point yet. There are people who are not feeling anything because things are great for them. And it's extremely unfair. Extremely unfair. But no, we're not that. We haven't even tried. We haven't even begun to try some of the things that we could do.
I'm sure you read the report. It talked about introduction of income tax, raising value-added tax to 15%, corporate tax rate, et cetera. Of course, adding in those things are going to increase the cost of living for the average payment, which is already high, and we already don't make a lot. So the ability, I think, for socioeconomic mobility for the average citizen, barring simply using education or trade, is going to be extraordinarily difficult for you to climb, or more difficult, I should say, for you to climb from one class to the next, or even improve your lot in life if more and more of your income is sucked away, not just by taxes, but simply by the cost of living. Mm-hmm. Because we know every single time there's a cost to be added from a private business or whatever the situation is, the cost is almost 100% of the time passed down to the consumer. So, for instance, now, the Bahamas currently is in the top 5 of the most expensive states in the world, right? And that's also excluding the Family Islands. We're just looking at the calculus for New Providence. And in this situation, it's very expensive. The interest rates we pay compared to Americans for mortgages are higher. So we pay more in the long run. We earn less. Our household income, I think, is $20,000 or $25,000 less than that of the average American household. We pay more for all the same things that we consume, and we import everything, essentially, that we want. So we're looking at a reality where more of your household income will be consumed by cost of living and simply taxes. Now, the hope is that the government does things with that money, be more transparent with it. We keep more stats to have better solutions to our problems in this country, and we actually address our infrastructure issues, thus allowing us to put us in a situation where economic growth could be something, especially in Family Islands. But Dwight, do you have a lot of faith? Question: how much do you trust our institutions?
Yeah, that's right now. I don't know if that's relevant. Whether if we go by the past, then yeah, we might as well just put ourselves in comas but we cannot be so passive. We cannot be so passive and allow.
I'm saying there's a lot of variables there, right? And I'm thinking, in my opinion, some of the recommendations I agree with, but it requires a lot of social trust in institutions and government. And while I may feel a certain type of way, the public may feel different, right?
Yeah. All right, let's hear what they're saying. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning to your co-host.
Hi.
You know, Dwight, just bear with me. I want to make 2 points. Maybe we need to start looking now at perhaps regulating the busing system and making it more user-friendly, you know. Perhaps putting in odometers where they don't have to be speeding all over the place. They can only go, because $6 and almost $6.50 for a gallon of gas. You can imagine what they're going to be paying in the Family Islands, you know. But Dwight, I don't want to preempt you, but I was listening to this plea bargain deal that the prosecutors gave to that gentleman who impregnated that 14-year-old child. think that was necessary with all of this advent now of DNA testing in the Bahamas?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean, but go on. What are you saying?
My point is this: your child, and the sentence is what, 4 years?
Right.
But check this out. We have had, and I know this might be contentious for you, but it's the fact. It's the fact. We have had every influential voice in the country came out and expressed their weight, show their weight behind marital rape. But let's see now if these same voices will throw their weight behind and object to this nonsense, in my estimation. How could you give a man 4 years for impregnating a 14-year-old child? And I'm sure there's going to be a deafening silence in this country on this issue. But here lies the hypocrisy. Big grown married women can walk away. Children can't walk away. But yet, we've given everything to the married women. Children, and if you check the Vital Statistics report, you'll see there are hundreds of children between the ages of 10 and 14 who have given birth in this Bahamas. But they're not getting any voice behind them to support, try to get these pedophiles off the street. We're not hearing any committee being formed. We're not hearing any persons come out and telling the Prime Minister to circumvent this thing and just make marital rape law.
Cleaver, I think you're really not talking about the same type of issues here. This was unlawful sexual intercourse, right?
A child, anyone under 16, is statutory rape.
Yes, absolutely. And it's horrible. But I mean, I don't know why you're looking at that to see what you hear publicly about and to measure that.
Not really anything.
Yeah, but people, no one is going to look at this and say this is fantastic. Everyone is, but no one's going to think this is great. But I mean, that doesn't mean that they're not outraged by it.
Right, well, where is the voice? You're hearing a loud voice for marital rape.
All right, but so the issue. So let's talk about the men. Let's talk about the men who are doing this, right?
Yeah, but where are the men who are doing this? Because obviously they're not in jail. That's my point.
Well, those are serious issues. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but then they are more serious than big, grown married women who could walk away. Children are defenseless. That's my point.
I don't think one issue necessarily cancels out the other. And we also haven't changed any laws last I checked on the situation with marital rape to say that we give one side one thing and not the other side another. I do agree with you that some of these laws need to change.
But also, Cleaver,
yes, sir.
One is illegal right now, and the other one is not, right?
But
so that's what the people are saying.
Legal. We are not giving it enough attention.
But we don't do that with anything, unfortunately.
But I mean, your teeth, when you read these things, Dwight, your teeth don't be on edge.
It's horrible. You can ask the producer the look on my face when I read that story. It's horrible.
We're hearing from the Anglican priest. We're hearing from the Catholic priest on marital rape. We're hearing from every single body. But this thing been going on
well,
for
let's
decades.
not pit these issues against each other, right? We have to deal with all of our social ills. And we cannot, you're not going to get anywhere.
This town seems to be very hypocritical on these issues, and it's a vexing issue, and my voice will never waver. I will continue to do what I am doing.
We can speak out against all of them. All of them are terrible, and they all need to be addressed. All of them, right? You cannot get angry because one gets more attention than the other. That's not going to help us anywhere, right? That's what
I think, too, his point about us being hypocritical about things is true, but I don't think this is a case of that. Because, again, one thing or the other. There are tons of issues to highlight now, even the wording that we use in language as to why we use certain words like unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor, and he used the term statutory rape. The same argument was made in reference to marital rape to call it that, but instead, I've seen the current Minister of National Security.
No, Don. When this very significant when it says unlawful sexual intercourse, it's different from rape. It's different from
There's
because
why that's used.
Because unfortunately, whether we want to admit it or not, that 14-year-old, she's a minor, but she knew exactly what she was doing. and people don't want to say it like that.
This goes to what I was just going to say about why the current Minister of National Security and the former Attorney General both echoed the same things, but why they want to use the term unlawful sexual intercourse in marriage or some other term other than simply using marital rape, right? And they both cited conviction rates as the reason for this. And whether or not that is the case, I don't know. But they know better about the law than I do. But I'm just saying the language is interesting. I would prefer we just call it what it is, but obviously I'm not a lawyer or speak legalese, so they probably know better than I do.
All right, let's see if we can get back on to the gas price issue and how that's impacting you all. 323-6232, us all. 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. We'll get to your text messages in just a bit. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. All right. Let's read some of these before we go to the break. This person says, I heard an AP report recently that some states have temporarily suspended their taxes on gas. That would be a good start here. Yeah, we've been talking about that for a few weeks, yes. But the Prime Minister already addressed that. He says if we do this, they're going to have to cut back on some other things. And how will you feel about that?
Dwight, didn't we have intervention by the government in reference to the fuel surcharge and a rate increase at BPL? Or my memory is not serving me well on that.
Yeah, well, they can do a lot of things when they want to. They can do a lot of things when they want to.
Can we have both, or is it one or the other, or what is the fiscal situation here with these things?
This person says here, reduce the tax on fuel and increase the tax on imported alcohol. Okay. You probably could save quite a bit of money. Yeah. This person says here, the government can give relief, however, they choose not to. For instance, cut back or postpone the $31 million on the baseball stadium in the short term. Just one example to show they're trying to do something, or that they would be, I guess.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah. Good morning, Blend. What was done in Barbados was the gas tax was reduced. However, to offset the loss in revenue, the motley government raised the income tax on wealthier Barbadians and certain businesses. Journalists in the Bahamas just tell part of the story. We didn't just tell part of the story. You just heard us say that. Yeah, that's what the Prime Minister said as well, that in order to do this, they had to offset other things. And so that's what we're saying, right? There are a lot of untaxed industries and sectors here. Perhaps they need to be temporarily taxed. That's what it just said. But if they won't hear it, they won't even. They'll cut their eye at the government, and that'll be the end of that. But yes, maybe we need to look at something like that. Another one here. Don't listen to these leaders. I'm editing. These gas prices are a ripoff. The price of a barrel of oil went down last week, but our gas prices in the Bahamas went up. Why? Today, a barrel of oil is at $100. We call for investigation as to why gas prices went up. Well, they'll explain. They always explain that there's a lag, and that they buy at this price, and that they have that amount of supply, and blah, blah, blah. And so by the time it gets here, yeah. So we've heard all that before, sadly. We'll get to another piece, though, on what the wholesalers are saying after the break. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Who's gonna tell you things aren't so great? You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Who's gonna pick you up when you fall? Who's gonna
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
7:40 the time. Time for your first look at traffic this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, we're seeing heavy traffic on Mile Butler Highway, as usual at this hour, from Fire Trail all the way up to Tawny Glooms Darling Highway. That's in the northbound lanes. Backed up a bit for you on Fire Trail eastbound to the roundabout with Mile Butler Highway at this time as well. Gladstone Road is looking like a better alternate route for you, though. The traffic's only about midway between Fire Trail and John F. Kennedy driving the roundabout there. We're seeing building traffic on Carmichael Road eastbound to Blue Hill Road and Carmichael westbound to Coral Harbor Road. The two ends of Carmichael there. Blue Hill Road is busy already, especially northbound and north of Soldier Road, heading to the Independence Drive roundabout. Independence Drive also seeing some heavy traffic westbound to that roundabout. Elsewhere, Eastern Road, heavy traffic already started for you just east of Fox Hill Road. You see that in the westbound lane. And pockets along Prince Charles Drive westbound, Fox Hill Road northbound, heavy traffic there, heading to the intersection with Prince Charles Drive, and then Prince Charles and Beatrice Avenue. That intersection looking congested. Soldier Road north of Robinson Road in the northbound lane there, already seeing some heavy traffic as you approach that intersection with Wolf Village and Bernard Road. Those are your hotspots right now. We'll have another real-time report for you coming up after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. And we've got another look at your weather for today, brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization. We've got high pressure over the area that will continue to provide dry and tranquil conditions across the country today. Beachgoers should exercise caution due to the moderate risk of rip currents along north and east coast beaches. Your forecast for today calling for partly mostly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions, becoming mostly fair and mild tonight. Small craft caution in effect for the central and southeast Bahamas. Temperatures getting up to around 83 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. The understanding, the overnight low tonight getting down to about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure over the area will slowly migrate eastwards into the Atlantic over the next several days. During this time, the pressure gradient will tighten, allowing an uptick in winds across the country. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, sunny, warm, and breezy to windy during the day, breezy and mild at night. Small craft Thursday, partly sunny, warm, and breezy to windy with a spotty shower or two possible, turning fair and breezy at night with a stray shower or two. Small craft advisory will also be in effect. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by the Ministry of Health and PAHO. Has it been 5 months since your second COVID vaccine? Then don't forget your booster. Getting your COVID booster and vaccine will prevent you missing important job opportunities and special occasions abroad. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit vax.gov.bs to book an appointment or simply walk in to any of their locations.
Can feel like a lot. With RBC by your side, your home owning journey can be stress-free. An RBC mobile mortgage specialist will meet you almost anywhere, and you'll benefit from flexible repayment terms, lower upfront costs, and cashback where it matters. Pre-qualify to see what you can afford. Start at rbc.com/Caribbean/mortgages. Limited time offer.
Rent? Landlords? I am ready to build.
Yes. Home ownership is a big deal, so move in merrily with CIBC First Caribbean. With your new mortgage, you'll get half off the appraisal cost, commitment fee, and more. Enjoy up to 95% financing and a homeowner benefits card to save at selected hardware, furniture, and appliance stores.
We moved in.
Merrily. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Move Merrily for details.
The Water and Sewage Corporation advises the public, its customers, and the residents of Melbourne Road, Yellow Elder Gardens that the corporation will commence improvement work on March 16, 2022, for a duration of 6 weeks. During this period, there may be interruptions in the water supply, road closure, and detour around the work areas. Motorists are asked to avoid the area between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. The corporation apologizes for any inconvenience caused and appreciates your support as they work to improve their level of service.
One thing there is no debate about is that BTC has the best rates. Now, the best rates just got better because you pay half the price of the other guys with your BTC home internet and mobile services combined. Switching to BTC is a no-brainer because I pay less with BTC and get super fast internet with speeds up to 600 megs. The other guys, their internet only go up to 105 megs.
Get all the internet you want at half the price when you bundle your home internet and mobile. Visit a BTC store to make the switch today. Conditions apply.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
We believe in relationship banking. We take pride in getting to know our clients. You have access to knowledgeable, approachable ambassadors and financial coaches so that we can recommend the best product for you. At Fidelity, we care about you. From your financial health to your physical health, we can relate to you because we're just like you. Come and start your relationship banking experience with us today. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Visit any of our branches in Nassau or Grand Bahama, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau, or 352-6676 for Freeport.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
You get a fast car. I want a ticket to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent on this Tuesday morning. If you've got a fast car, don't drive fast if you want to save gas. So that's one of the things, right? That's one of the ways to save gas. And make sure your tires are properly inflated, and make sure you don't have unnecessary junk in your trunk. Lots of rhyming this morning, but hey, those are the things that work.
Whoa, Dwight.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, so those are the little things that will help. And don't idle. Don't sit in that. You might want to go inside. Are they letting you back inside the restaurants instead of idling in the long drive-through?
Some are. Not all at all, but some.
Yeah. So if you can go inside, that might be best. Soak up their air conditioning. How about that?
Also, if you can help it, burn less air conditioning.
Yeah.
Just use AC less because it takes more power away from the alternator. So, which caused the engine to have to rev up a little bit more gas to produce enough power. So, throw that out there. I know that's a hard one, but
yeah, especially when you're stuck in traffic, and then maybe don't drive during peak traffic hours. And if you
do
can
what
avoid
I do.
that,
Go on Google Maps and see the hot spots of traffic at any given time and avoid those areas.
Yeah. Although it seems everybody has the same idea a lot, quite often around here. But okay, so everyone's saying, well, don't blame us for these high prices, including the wholesalers and the retailers. They always say that. Take a listen to this report from our Jasmine Brown.
Grubus is at $6.33. Esso at $6.16, and Shell at $5.50 per gallon.
Basically, the wholesalers and the retailers, they pass on a fixed cost on a per gallon basis to the end consumer. So we have very little control on the ultimate pump prices. So we hope and pray that things settle down and that prices resume to a level that consumers are comfortable with.
The Focal president says not only is the rising cost of fuel out of their hands, but suppliers do not hedge gasoline because it's too risky.
Well, that's risky business because no one knows. We do not know where the prices are going. Tomorrow prices can collapse for one reason or the other. And so, and then we'll have the opposite problem. You would have stocked up on high-cost product that the consumers are saying on the international markets, prices have collapsed. Why is our prices so high? And so, essentially, we take what the market gives.
Focal Holdings Limited is the sole licensed Shell distributor for the country. So far, Shell stations have managed to keep their prices at the pumps below $6 a gallon. So Anarubis have all topped the $6 mark. As for how long Shell will remain the lowest, Adderley says that can't be predicted.
And so it all depends on how much fuel you have in your tank at the time when you purchase your new cargo. And so, but generally, if prices are trending up, all the oil companies will trend up in some time frame. And so it may happen within a week, 2 weeks. You know, it all depends on your inventory.
The Focal executive adds that they are hoping that other oil supplying countries will pick up the slack on fuel production in light of the problems with Russia's supply of oil to the world in the context of its war with Ukraine. Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Boy, okay. More of your reaction coming in on our text line, and you can text us as well, 422-4796. Or continue to call in, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us or Facebook us. This text here, please let it be known, as we just did, that the gas station operators have absolutely nothing to do with gas prices. Most do not know that if you buy gas for $3, the gas station operator makes 54 cents a gallon. If you buy gas for $5, the gas station operator makes 54 cents per gallon. Oh boy, what did I do? I just lost the text. Okay. Wow, they sent a link and that caused the thing to crash. But anyway, so whatever the price, the gas station operator makes 54 cents a gallon. Along with the company who sells the gas to the country, it is the government with VAT and their other taxes who make more on the price of gas when gas price is an untenable situation for the gas station operators. They do not control the price of gas nor make any extra profit when the price of gas goes up. The shock for a gas station operator is that a tanker of gas that was costing $38,000 2 years ago with a profit of 54 cents a gallon now costs in excess of $50,000 with the profit still being 54 cents a gallon. It is brutal. Yeah, this is a horrible situation. Horrible situation. Another one here. I disagree with Gowan Bow on this. You heard Gowan in the first report we played from Jared Higgs. We could lower the fuel tax and introduce a progressive income tax. It's funny how during the lockdowns, when only food stores were allowed to be open, the larger ones showed record profits and their tax burden didn't increase. Our number one focus in this country is not to disrupt the lifestyle of the wealthy. Our problem with our tax system is it doesn't penalize cash hoarding. Also, it rewards value extraction and punishes value creation. Wow. Another one here. While I think a 14-year-old is too young to have children, I remember almost all the women around my grandparents' age had children at that early age. I'm not sure why you sent that text. What does that have to do with anything? In our reality today, but why? And there were a lot of things we used to do decades, centuries ago, and today they're frowned upon or illegal, unlawful, against the law, ridiculous. But okay, yeah. A lot of people didn't finish school either, right? Or barely went to school. What about it? So don't freak out about. I don't know what you're saying. Did I hear correctly that there was a plea deal in the case? Yes, there was. He's going to get 4 years and he will be on probation for 3 years after his release. If he commits any crime during the probation period, he will spend 2 more years in prison. This was after he pleaded guilty to 5 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. Yeah.
Is it 2 more? I don't know. I ask that purely because, like, I know in our system, like, someone can literally rack up 40 years in jail time, but the highest sentence they have is 7 years, and so they will serve all that time concurrently rather than consecutively. So it's not even 40 years; it's just 7 years that they would serve. So I wonder if they commit more than one crime, would it be an additional 2 years plus those charges, and then it would just be whatever the highest charge is, and they just serve all that time concurrently? I don't know. I've always wondered about that, and I've never had an explanation, but I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't think most people agree with it.
Okay. I don't think that's not what's happening here. But I do understand what you're saying.
But I'm just saying, in terms of the time, we always talk about people get so little time for a lot of these crimes, and I think that's part of the issue.
I'm always curious about that as well. Why not consecutively? I guess they're trying to reduce overcrowding in the prison, but it isn't fair to the victims. I can tell you that. But I don't understand it. But this text here: reduce tax and travel and cut back on traveling. These are recommendations for the government. Reduce tax and cut back on traveling. Also, make every MP take a pay cut of $2,000 each from their salary. The MPs. Well, they don't make that much, but maybe you mean the cabinet ministers, perhaps. Okay. Reduce the tax on alcohol and put taxes on churches. We'll make billions. Here.
That person's being facetious, but
you mean because they should say trillions? No. This one says, Dwight, how would you feel if a big blank man, blank as in because it's right anyway, big up your 14-year-old daughter? It would be horrible, of course. Why are you asking me that? You think I would celebrate it? It would be a terrible, terrible thing. But another text I need some clarity on. Why are you sending that text? Because it sounded like we'd be fine with it? Okay, Dwight, if my understanding is correct, wouldn't the reduction of tax on gas be the best thing to do, since it would offset increases at the pump and simultaneously maintain government revenue, since increased prices that are taxed would produce the same revenues pre-gas price increases? If I'm correct, tell me what I'm missing here, please.
I think there's several things, right? I think the government has a fixed tax on every gallon of gas that's sold or brought into the country, I think, as well as the government has value-added tax on top of that. That's factored into the cost already by the time you get to the pump. The other thing is that government still has to procure goods and services, which are going to be impacted by the cost of fuel. So if it costs more for the government to buy the same goods and services it always has, and now they're foregoing that revenue, there's going to be a deficit there. But if you are to look at it purely from the would make sense, but I think the situation is a little bit more complex. There's a lot of nuance in there.
Okay. Someone's saying here, can reporters go and investigate why gas prices remain under $5 in Freeport? They have bonded fuel, folks. That's not a secret. Not a secret in the Freeport area. So...
Yes, right? I think you have to have a bonded vehicle to buy gas that cheap, right?
You do. Not everybody can buy that at that price. So it's not a secret. That's one of the benefits of Freeport. Was supposed to be one of the things to lure people there. So not a secret. But we got to go to the break. We'll be back. A lot more to talk about after the news. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for your smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Float Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. And now, day 24, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. We've got high pressure over the area. That's going to continue to provide dry and tranquil conditions over the country today. Beachgoers should exercise caution due to the moderate risk of rip currents along north and east coast beaches. For all areas today, we're looking at partly to mostly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions, becoming mostly fair and mild tonight. Small craft cautions in effect for the central and southeast Bahamas. Temperatures getting up to around 83 Fahrenheit, 28 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure over the area will slowly migrate eastwards into the Atlantic over the next few days. During this time, the pressure gradient will tighten, and that's going to allow an uptick in winds across the islands. You'll notice that by mid to the end of the week. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, sunny, warm, and breezy to windy. During the day, breezy and mild at night. Thursday, partly sunny, warm, and breezy to windy, with a spotty shower or two possible, turning fair and mild at night. Over the next couple of days, small craft advisory will be in effect. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. 8:25, time for another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Six-legged roundabout in your real-time traffic, seeing some heavy traffic in multiple directions. JFK, eastbound to the roundabout, southbound on New Providence Highway, northbound on Mile Butler Highway. All those areas, traffic backed up there. Further north on West Bay Street near Saunders Beach, heavy traffic from Go Slow Bend to the roundabout with New Providence Highway, eastbound. You'll be seeing that traffic there. South on Mile Butler Highway, you're going to be seeing that heavy northbound traffic from just south of the Fire Trail roundabout all the way up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway, and traffic is backed up both directions, west and eastbound on Tonic Williams Darling Highway. Heavy traffic, especially eastbound this morning. So keep that in mind if you're in that part of the island. Gladstone Road, also busy northbound on the way up to JFK Drive. We're seeing some heavy traffic as usual on Blue Hill Road from south of St. Vincent Road all the way up to the roundabout with Independence Drive, especially north of Soldier Road, eastbound on Carmichael. Heavy traffic to Blue Hill Road as well. And then Independence Drive is back to both directions, west and eastbound. East Street also busy between Robinson and Soldier Road, mainly in the northbound lanes. And Soldier is going to be providing you with heavy traffic in multiple spots near Windsor Place, near Old Trail, at the intersection. Busy this morning, and well north of that intersection, all the way up to the intersection with Wolf Village and Bernard Road. Heavy traffic straight up there. Back to Robinson Road, very busy at the intersection with Soldier, and in between Old Trail and Soldier, heavy traffic for you westbound on Robinson Road. Further east, Prince Charles Drive, Beatrice Avenue, and Prince Charles Drive and Fox Hill Road, heavy traffic there. And Eastern Road, from well east of Camperdown, well east of San Susie, all the way up to Johnson Road. You will see that heavy traffic in the westbound lanes there. So a lot of challenges for you this morning. That's your real-time traffic in your Morning Blend traffic alert. You might want to wait till after 9 o'clock if you can, to avoid that traffic and save some gas. That's your real-time traffic in your Morning Blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent. Just want to read a few more of your messages that we've been talking about the gas prices, and we're going to get to this ongoing saga about Will Smith and that slap and the what happened here locally yesterday with Cabinet Minister JoBeth Colby Davis and her tweet that got F&M Chairman Dwayne Sands worked up. We're going to get to that in just a bit. Let's read some more of your messages, though, on the gas prices and the challenges that we're facing. And some of you have your suggestions on what can be done. But this text here, remember the argument that this administration used for reducing VAT? Well, they can use that same argument for reducing the gasoline tax. Yeah? Don, what do you think about that? Will that spur more people to buy more gas? And
You broke up for a second there, Dwight. What was the question?
They're saying if the same argument they use for reducing the VAT tax, use that for reducing the gasoline tax. People might buy more gasoline, and so you make your money back through the sheer volume of it.
Sure. No, I don't. I don't know, Dwight. I think what's going to happen there is government won't adjust revenue for that, because if we likely end up in a situation where revenue doesn't increase from that, we're just going to have a bigger deficit, and that's just going to lead to more borrowing. And if there's one thing our governments know how to do, it's borrow money. So I don't know, Dwight. What do you think, Dwight? Huh? What do you think?
I've already said it. I really do think they need to cap it, reduce it, at least temporarily. I do support that. And
What do you think it should be at?
I have no idea, but they can work it out. They've got the numbers, and they know where they can pick up the slack. I've said it before. With the casinos, somebody suggested churches. There are all kinds of companies, industries that are not taxed or are undertaxed in this country. If only temporarily while we go through this global crisis, see if they can help pull up the slack.
So what if the solution is to implement some of the things that IMF report, such as the government starts the process of introducing, or at least introduce legislation for...
Before we get there, look at the corporate tax. Yeah, look at that. How about that? How about that? Why not?
Oh, Dwight, you know it's coming.
But you know, I think a lot of people would be fine with income tax if there weren't custom duties.
Oh, well, you know, that's probably not going to happen.
Well, then we can't do this. What are you going to come on.
I agree with you. I think they'll reduce customs duties, but I don't think they're going to eliminate them in their entirety. Okay. And it's going to be, as I call it, financial abuse. But
it goes back to some of the things you talked about earlier, right? So we could possibly do this. Sure, put all of those taxes, customs, VAT, corporate, every single thing. But let me tell you something. I better not need to have to buy a car to survive in this country.
Well, yes,
right? I shouldn't have.
Excellent hedge.
All of these things need to be dealt with. But that's not what's happening. It's happening at all.
It's not. This requires essentially a policy shift in terms of urban planning and development, which has been nothing short of an abysmal failure for the 40 plus years this country's, close to 50 years now, this country's been independent. We've done very little to reform that industry. I know that they released the moratorium, I think it was on taxi plates, which thankfully, I don't know if that's going to really reduce prices for end consumers. And we're not going to see it right now. But they're good public transportation, not just for New Providence either, like the entire country. Family Islands is absolutely abusive in some cases with these prices of gas. A gas station sometimes double almost that of what we're seeing in Nassau. So it's horrible, but this requires us to have some really brutal conversations about the future of our country. Where is it that if you want Bahamians to have more money in their pockets at the end of the day, these are things that need to be explored. These needed to be explored 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But here we are in a situation now, and we need, like you said, a government that has the fortitude of varying varieties to actually get off their backsides and do something about the situation, and also step on lots of toes and make a lot of people angry in the process. But these are things that need to happen. If not, then we will continue to find ourselves in massive US dollar outflows in this country just on fuel. And also people will have to purchase more and more cars, which inevitably will cause more US dollars to flow inside of this country. We can hedge against a lot of those things with public transportation, which deals with our fuels consumption, reduces the cost on the individual Bahamian citizen and resident, as well as eventually get us to a point where, if we all pay, let's say how they have it in Paris or the UK or any major European or even old American city where there's proper public transportation, a lot of that revenue goes towards the upkeep of that entire transportation system, as well as the road systems in which those public transportation systems operate on. It's a long-term strategic thinking of cheaper ways to move mass amounts of people around the city. But in the Bahamas, we, on this 21/7 island, have gone down the same route as many American cities with an over-reliance on cars. The entire urban structure development is backwards. And I think it is high time, Dwight, that we reconsider this position.
Yeah. Let's take this call quickly, and then we want to move on. Good morning, call. You're on the air. Good morning. Are you there? Hi. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Don. Don, the statement is testicular fortitude or ovarian audacity.
Or intestinal. Intestinal.
Yeah.
That one works for both.
Testicular head.
For everybody.
Yes. Dwight, just on the taxation business, you can't have income tax without you cannot have corporate tax without income tax, because essentially what individuals profits around from income to from tax from corporate to taxes and back and forth.
But there's got to be a way around that, though, right? To make it not easy for them to do that, isn't there?
It's the best way to just have the word income tax, just period on corporate and personal. The problem that we have. The problem that we have is that we overlook a very simple process that we keep talking about, increasing taxes. I mean, the simple solution is to grow the economy. And, because 10% of 2 million is much better than even 9% of 9% of 2 million is better than even 10% of 1 million. And so if you grow the economy, we could actually reduce this whole taxation basis. We talk about this blue, orange, green, aquamarine, knowledge, conceptual, digital, all these different economic models. We talk about the need to shift the hospitality and tourism industry, which is basically our bread and butter. The problem with that is that we don't own it, because 85% of the money goes out of the country for lack of ownership. So it's the time for us to maybe look at shifting these models of these mega hotels and foreign ownership to actually personalized ownership.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we could go into these production models, because each of those 7 different economic models we speak of is actually foreign currency imports that we can use. And so even if not in a giant leap, considering that maybe as much as 100,000 people is either unemployed or underemployed, even their small participation in those various economic models can actually serve as a means of growing the economy.
Well, obviously, I mean, it sounds simple, but obviously there's something up, and it's not happening either. Or maybe they like it like this. Maybe they like it like this.
It's our more so is our unwillingness to change rather than our inability, and become dependent on leadership, as opposed. I mean, like what I said, external leadership as opposed to internal motivation. And so what happens is it requires the government, even though they talk about these economic models, I would challenge you, Dwight, in your media, your newspaper, to bring a written policy on any of those things I spoke of that even existed in the last years, just anywhere. Because the problem with policy is that policy is something that's spoken by the minister. And just because you make a statement doesn't give the details of exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Take it in mind, remember, governance responsibility is legislation, policy, and program. We don't see any of these. It's just like Don was speaking about ground transportation. We're looking to patch the system by giving out more license plates to taxi drivers and bus drivers, when we need a central bus system that work and actually is on time, that I can almost set my clock by it, that is interlinked going across this island.
Absolutely.
Electrical bus system. And so, and if you grow the economy, these taxi drivers and so-called bus drivers who we team will be displaced, who are voting blocks that you don't want to disrupt, but actually be able to find themselves integrated in some other aspect of the economy. And so we're trying to maintain, from the political standpoint, the problem is that most of we have adopted a policy of 5-year celebrity.
Yeah, we got to go. But let me ask you really quickly: what's the gas price over there, and what's the bonded price?
I haven't bought gas in about 6 years. But the significant difference is that we don't pay on the bonded price. Let's say the gas is close to $6 here. Those individuals who buy bonded gas will be somewhere in the $3 range because they won't pay the VAT. They won't pay the $1.50 taxes on the gasoline.
Yeah,
and a significant other thing. Generally speaking, it's about 40% less.
Okay.
Actual price.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. All right. So I want to move on to this very quickly. We won't have. We spent a whole lot of time on this yesterday, but some interesting comments. People are. Really revealing some interesting things about themselves with this controversy with Will Smith and Chris Rock. And take a listen to this report. The controversial tweet that Jo Beth Colby Davis, the Minister of Transport and Housing, something she tweeted yesterday or posted somewhere that got the F&M chairman, Dr. Dwayne Sands, worked up. This report from our Jared Higgs.
Smith walked up on stage and slapped Rock in the face after Rock made a joke referring to Pinkett Smith as G.I. Jane. Pinkett Smith suffers from alopecia, an autoimmune condition where immune cells attack hair follicles, causing the hair to fall out. In the deleted tweet, Colby Davis wrote, "Men are natural protectors when they truly love women. It's harder for them to turn it off." Jada's reaction shows hurt. Let this be a lesson. After a rebuke from F&M chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands, who described the comments as reckless and irresponsible, Colby Davis deleted the tweet. Later, she posted another tweet where she said, "My apologies. I actually was feeling the hurt from Jada's point of view because I too suffer from mild alopecia." She added, "It's really not a good feeling losing your hair, so the joke hurt me." Reading back the comment was not properly worded, and so I removed it. Meanwhile, Sands says Colby Davis was still wrong despite her apology.
When we saw it, we were appalled that a cabinet minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas would, one, be so distracted given all of the drama that's taking place. There are killing fields in our streets, particularly in the Grove. And this typically happens in areas where there's conflict resolution challenges. So to suggest or to support one man expressing violence towards another, it was just tone deaf.
In another tweet, Colby Davis fired back at Sands, saying he was reaching. She said, "My comment clearly referenced Jada, and it was not to support violence, and I do not. I simply referred to the hurt Jada experienced, which I could relate, so he could go find his political brownie points elsewhere."
She has done so. She has taken the post down. Unfortunately, she has continued to post in order to try and clean up her comments about the incident, and I think she should just put her phone down before she gets in trouble.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Okay. What do you make of that? Is it political brownie points, or are we really, as we said yesterday? I mean, this issue has bigger implications than Hollywood and two actors getting into it or whatever. Just the message that it sends about how we deal with conflict, especially our impressionable young people, how they see people who are role models, people they look up to, celebrities, dealing with something that they have to face every day, someone saying something about how you look, and how that person who goes on to win an Oscar right after deals with a conflict. But yeah, let's hear what you have to say about it. What did you make of that tweet and the reaction from the F&M chairman?
I remember seeing the tweet as I went along Twitter. And I screenshot it, and I was like, wow, it's probably going to get deleted. No less than 5 minutes later, it did get deleted. And it was I would say that we have to be careful. One has to be careful when they hold public office about some of the things that they co-sign and some of the things that they comment on, right? And I know this has been a quite a roller coaster on social media. A lot of people chiming in their thoughts, views, opinions. People dragging people's marital issues in the past. Well, not people's, especially Will Smith's, into this. That's a whole conversation for another day. But I just wanted to say that just when I think it's not always the best time, because even Travis Robinson came under some fire for the whole gunman and Chihol thing with the picture of him shooting a gun on Instagram. When you're in public office, you're under special types of scrutiny. This also isn't Joe Beth's first controversial tweet that she's put out. This put her in hot water. I'm not for or against anybody in this circumstance. I'm just saying, when in public office, just be extraordinarily mindful that there's a microscope on everything that you say and post. Mm-hmm. So be mindful.
Yeah. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight and our guest.
Hi.
You know, Dwight, you were so sad about that stuff. You know, that was some of the things that Sidney Poitier was actually fighting for. You know, Will Smith should have actually handled that better. You know, wait to put him as a changing room or something. But I mean, on stage like that, you know. Sidney Poitier fights so hard to portray black men as, you know, as a person who can behave and, you know, have respectable roles. And I don't know if he's going to get a major role like that again, you know, because, you know, that's a bad reflection.
Mm.
And us as the black people, you know, that don't look good. All right, so he should have handled that better. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Let's get to some of the messages here. Do you think... oh, boy. This is a text. Do you think Joe Beth Colby Davis has too much free time? Here's a thought. As Minister of Transport, maybe she can focus on the gas prices. That might be more of a finance thing, actually, but okay. This one...
people are just roasty toasty.
This one here, no matter how tight money gets, is back to the other issue. No matter how tight money gets in this country, people continue to gamble. So why don't we get a national lottery started? No one wins the lottery every day. The money generated can be put into things that have budget shortfalls. Just saying. This one says here, it's saddening that the pinnacle of our leadership.
Against that, though, didn't Behavens? Didn't we say that we don't want any of those things to ever happen? I don't. Whatever.
It's saddening that the pinnacle of our leadership is arguing over this. This is back to the Will Smith thing. We have more than enough to deal with. Again, it isn't as simple as just Will Smith. It's about the challenges that we see in this country. There are tons of people and a lot of people fighting because of women, right? You know, and it'll lead to this. What you say to her?
I'll say one thing. I saw a lot of commentary from a lot of Bahamian women on this, and I will just say this. I don't know everybody's personal circumstances or belief systems, but anything that involves you risking your life limb, and most importantly, including your life, is your freedom, is something you should probably think about before you act. And I'm not going to go down to a conflict resolution because I know when emotions are high, all sorts of things happen. And something, Dwight, that we don't often talk about between men is that there always exists a low-level threat of violence. Certain things you say and do, we are thoughtful about. But I'm just saying, in circumstances, you have to think about what happens afterwards, have some sense of emotional maturity. If you do make the decision, you accept the consequences of said decision.
Yeah.
And if said decision is not in your favor or that of your family or those are your loved ones around you, it makes less sense for you to do that than to not do it, then that's something you need to take into consideration. But you have to weigh options before you make decisions, regardless of whether or not I or anyone else agrees with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take this call. Caller, you are on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi.
Your co-host. That's the worst night to fight. I mean, Will is an A-lister sitting up front in a $10,000 tuxedo, and a woman had a $100,000 gown. I think a fight. That is appalling to me as somebody who lived in the States. And I'm like, why people don't want to rent to us? We want to live in a condo. We can't behave. We go from 100 to 101 minutes. He laughed at the joke. In fact, it was a compliment. Demi Moore had a buzz cut doing G.I. Jane. it was a good, it was a good, thing she did. And he kind of praised her, still I love her, but now that you have a buzz cut, you could do DIGing too. I mean, Will Smith should have been arrested and dragged out of there with handcuffs to show the young people violence is not the answer. Now he apologizing now to Chris Rock, but he's feeling the heat right now. That was uncalled for. Like black people better stop hitting each other. Violence is not the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, they are friends. They were friends, and he cussing and carrying on the A-list. Now he's a D-lister with Cassie. He's a D-lister now. I mean, this is Stephanie Harder say that was a good thing. That was a terrible thing for our black race. We are known for violence, aggressive behavior. The police are on the ground. Dwight, you ever been stopped in the States?
If I've ever been what, sorry?
They don't feel safe. We are aggressive. They would say.
Well.
At the Oscar, Will Smith fight live on TV.
Okay.
City Pointer rolling over in his grave.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right.
I'd like to add to that, Dwight. I've seen a lot of commentary of a person saying that this is the BET Awards or the Source Awards all over again. One thing I like to add, regardless of how people of different races view black people, I don't think hasty generalizations serve anybody any good. But I just want to say that I don't think anyone should attribute violence necessarily specifically with blackness, whether it be in this country or the United States or anywhere. But I just want to say, I speak against that. I'm not saying that the previous caller was saying that either, but I've seen a lot of commentary on it of people who look like us, Dwight, essentially attributing violence to blackness. I just wanted to say that there is no real correlation there, and I hasten to say there's a dangerous connection to try to make.
Absolutely. This text here, this is a message to you, Don. Can we stop referring to, I guess they're saying past referenda? Just because they took a vote years ago doesn't mean the opinion is current. And they go on to say that Jo Beth Colby Davis needs to grow up. She's acting like a high school girl and stop commenting on this issue. She should be mature in her comments. She can't condemn abuse to women and then condone violence among men. Another text here. Some women get excited over the idea of being able to reduce men to goons who are willing to fight and kill at their whim. Oh, boy. And another one here. Violence against women is the same as the Holocaust, but violence against men is endorsed. That's why I don't take so-called activism seriously here.
See, that's the problem, too, that text you just highlighted, the last one. The double speak on these sorts of issues is like, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander, right? But again, I share their sentiments. It's when we speak on these things, not just what we say on social media, because people always run up tape, slapping their gums together, saying all sorts of things, right? And sometimes I do it too. But it's what happens in intimate relationships in the home and between friends. The things that you, if you're, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, encourage within your relationship, the things that you instill in your children matter. And oftentimes we find that some of these same sentiments that Bahamians relay on social media do relay in their private lives.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That either you are complicit in this essential condoning of violence in our country, and I'm not speaking specifically to the situation Will Smith does, although it does have bearing. But either you are complicit and you believe violence is okay in certain directions, so long as it's not pointed as you or those who share your gender or the way that you look, or you understand the dangers in it. Because case in point from the situation of Will Smith and Chris Rock, who won in this situation, right? Because it seems like absolutely no one won. And all the violence that was essentially make the entire situation tremendously worse. Because now Will Smith's in a situation of doing damage control and PR cleanup. So same with Chris Rock, who's also embarrassed. But I don't mean personally embarrassed, which I'm sure they are, but also embarrassed on the international scale.
Yeah.
Both of their statures have fallen as a result of this. Now, whether or not that translates to any punitive damages to their career in terms of ability to get roles and generate income, I don't know.
Yeah.
But genuinely, for average everyday people that do not have the clout or financial resources or the networks of either of those men, such decisions can be absolutely catastrophic for your life. It can end up in a situation where you're going to jail, and you're in a situation where you're paying fines that you cannot afford, or, as you see frequently in the country, you will lose your life.
And we know this. People, you think you could do that to anybody here on the streets of New Providence? Slap somebody and expect that it would end like that? It won't. And people being spurred on to do all manner of nonsense, and we have to address it. And that set all the work that's been done, which was not enough, but all the work that's been done to curtail behavior like this back several notches on Sunday. Very damaging for everyone, indeed. Let's take this call really quickly, then we've got to go to a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing? I'm Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, just want to make reference. I think people getting comedy confused in this, because this wasn't a comedy show. This wasn't Chris Rock comedy show. This was a scripted live television broadcast which he hosted. And
that part wasn't scripted, though.
It was scripted.
That wasn't scripted. It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. You can tell when things are scripted. It's when the two weird. That wasn't scripted.
The story just broke this morning. ABC and the Academy Awards said that particular joke wasn't a part of the script.
You said wasn't, right?
It wasn't.
It wasn't. So it wasn't scripted.
What I'm saying, that's not my point. My point was Chris Rock went off a script.
Yes, as comedians would do.
Yes. But when they sit down with the initial script, right, they would have recognized any type of sensitive comment for anybody in that particular audience. Especially, they would have known Jada Pinkett Smith had a condition. So not to say that he's a comedian and he's joking about G.I. Jane. If that was a part of the script, he would have known.
All right, but that's irrelevant. It's a live TV show. Things happen. So what?
What I'm saying is things happen, but he took a chance, and he's partially responsible for the reaction.
No, there's no justification for someone getting up on the stage.
I'm not giving justification of what Will Smith did. All I'm saying is when you go off script in a live TV show, because it could have been any other comment. It could have been just like Dave Chappelle and all these other stuff. It could have been a different comment. That's all I'm saying. Forget the Jada Pinkett Smith issue. It could have been any other comment. It could have been something with Ukraine. It could have been a different situation. He went off script, and that's the result. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, that's what happens all the time. Just watch the Golden Globes that Ricky Gervais hosted. You think any part of that was scripted? You've got a comedian who's going to present. They're going to put their own color on stuff. And for most people, that'll just go over. And that joke would have not been remembered the next day. Of all the things we heard, because Amy Schumer was amazing and Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall were great, no one was going to remember that stale comment from Chris Rock. That would have been that. And Will Smith would have won his Oscar, and people would say, oh, so many wonderful things are lying ahead for Will Smith. But now, that's all we're going to remember. That stupid joke and Will Smith's act. For what? And that's what we have to say to our young people. This thing, whatever that person said to you, in the grand scheme of your life will mean so little. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Avoid the things that Don was talking about, right? Possible incarceration or your own death or you killing someone. It's not worth it. Don't be silly. And what we saw yesterday was a bunch of people saying, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. And that
also
explains
be
everything.
careful with your words and the things you say in passing, not just to other people, but also yourself. Like I won't be specific, but in a previous workplace I had a coworker who regularly would talk. I would get gassed up by people I also worked with, which were predominantly women as well. And I'm not blaming this purely on that, but I think it had a long-term effect because of the environment that he grew up in and the people that were always around him. He eventually caught a murder case, which he lost and ended up I think he's still in prison as a result of that. And when I heard the circumstances of it, it was very similar to someone said something about a gal he was with. and it was in a nightclub, and one thing led to another, and someone was killed.
That's so many people's story. It's a common thing, and it doesn't usually end well because you're supposed to do this.
I'm sorry to say it like this, but in the cases that we've seen so often in the Bahamas, is they fight over a woman, and then you go to jail, and then you with somebody else anyway. So it's like, what you gain from that? Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Morning Blend Business, we've got two things. We're going to tell you about the special event for the disability. And then we're going to get into what the IMF had to say about taxes, their recommendations, taxes and interest rates, and the implications. If we were to go down this road, we're going to get into all of that coming up. Stay with us. We're back after news.
Don't let yourself go. 'Cause everybody cries.
Around the world, Cleveland Clinic is recognized as a leader in healthcare. Our team of experts relentlessly pursues the best for our patients. From groundbreaking cancer research to state-of-the-art heart surgery, life-saving innovations happen here every day. When it's time to travel for your health, it's time to travel to Cleveland Clinic. Your destination for care, for every care in the world. To learn more, visit clevelandclinic.org/Caribbean.
For sale. It's our third look at this place. Let's buy.
Here we come. Home ownership is a big deal, so move in merrily with CIBC First Caribbean. With your new mortgage, you'll get half off the appraisal cost, commitment fee, and more. Enjoy up to 95% financing and a homeowner benefits card, redeemable at selected hardware, furniture, and appliance stores. Nice zone. We moved in
merrily.
Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/move merrily for details.
Earning zero interest on your savings at the bank? With as little as $100, you can start earning interest on your money while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank with the CFAL Savings Express Plan. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 in and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
Are you an attorney with a joint practice operating from one location? Accepting payments from clients doesn't have to be complicated.
Introducing RBC MultiPay. Now each attorney can securely accept and settle payments with one point-of-sale device supporting multiple bank accounts.
With competitive pricing, training, and easy setup, you will be up and running in no time.
Call 356-8500 to sign up for RBC MultiPay.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Let Wendy's heat up your morning. Wake up with our new Hot Honey Chicken Biscuit that is forged in flavor and made fresh every morning just for you. Forged from a fusion of sweet honey and spicy heat. Wendy's new Hot Honey Chicken Biscuit is our breaded premium all-white chicken breast topped with habanero honey, served on a fresh-baked buttermilk biscuit. It offers the perfect balance of sweet heat. Better mornings always start at Wendy's.
We're good for you.
We know how important collecting your money can be to the success of your business. Start your relationship with Fidelity today so that we can show you the many options available to you with our merchant services. From click and pay options online to merchant terminals and e-commerce options. We're here to help your business succeed. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website or visit any of our branches.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too?
At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
The views and opinions of hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Glen Business on this Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Don had to leave us. Remember, you can listen to Don every Saturday morning on the Eye Opener from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Don and Tate Adderley on the Eye Opener Saturdays, 9 to 11, right here on Guardian Radio. Always a great show. Now, this morning, we're going to be talking about the IMF and those suggestions we told you about last week that they recommended for the country. And I'm getting some reaction to that from our experts. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about the Disability Empowerment Retreat and the special event they are having this weekend. Here to give us details about that, very pleased to have with us, as always, Kendrick Roll. Good morning, Kendrick. Always a pleasure. Good morning. Great to have you with us. I think you might be muted. You need to unmute your mic for us, please. Yeah? Nope. Just unmute that mic and then we can get started. Yeah, okay, so we're still getting that sorted out there. Might need to send a message for that to be unmuted. All right, so we're going to get that sorted out. Oh, there we go.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Kendrick. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right.
Screen was on my iPad.
No problem.
But yes. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, thank you for having me on this morning. And what is happening is we have a group of over about 25 persons with disabilities. We're going on a retreat weekend to Eleuthera. It's a part of our awareness initiative this year. Our theme from last year leading into this year is inclusion for all. So we're going to have a retreat weekend. We're going to integrate with persons with disabilities down on the island of Eleuthera, as well as have some educational and recreational time, seeing what's accessible on the island as we just find a sense of normalcy, return back in normalcy and give our person with disabilities an opportunity to distress. Mm-hmm. And in support of that, this week, Saturday, we're going to be on Christie Park on Nassau Street. We are having a grill and chill and just a fun day as a fundraising initiative to help support our, to help defray some of the expenses of the retreat weekend. And so, yeah, we'll be out there from 12 noon until 6. We have a number of stuff going on, including some games, and of course, food and drinks will be on sale, and entertainment, including a Junkanoo rush out for the Junkanoo lovers. Junkanoo's on its way back, and one family is going to be doing a Junkanoo rush out for us. And we're just going to be having a good time as, we move to a sense of normalcy back in the country.
Wonderful. All right, so we'll come back to this Saturday's events in a bit, but you mentioned some interesting words, de-stress, and the theme that you've been on before talking about it. Let's talk about that, the stress, and how we are achieving the goals that we've set for persons with disability in our country.
Well, I cannot officially say nothing about this, but there are some activity happening with the National Commission. So we're going to see a lot of good things coming on stream from there. And The person, just the pandemic played a major role in bringing on some form of depression in a lot of persons' lives over these past 2 years. So right now, we're just trying to find things to do that would help them, just feel a little bit better and get more comfortable in the new norm, so to speak. And this is one of the things we're doing. In addition to that, we have a number of things coming on stream promoting inclusion. One in particular is our inclusive sports. We have some equipment right now and customers we're getting out. And very, very soon you're going to see the introduction of Beep Baseball. You could look it up on YouTube and see what Beep Baseball is. That is baseball for blind and visually impaired persons.
My goodness.
And so we're going to be launching that league very, very, very soon. And we're also in discussions with the National Dart Association so that we could form a darts club for deaf and hard of hearing children, as well as those with the functional children with some form of mental disabilities, and even those wheelchair users. So we're trying to get a number of inclusive sporting activities off the ground so that we could really start to see some inclusion for persons with disabilities here within the island.
Oh, wow. That would be fantastic. You've got to come back to tell us more about that. I want to ask you about not the slap with Will and Chris.
I think you want to talk about the deaf.
Yes,
deaf persons who
Troy Kotzer, who became the first deaf man to win an Oscar for acting performance, and this is amazing, isn't it?
Yes,
let's get your reaction to that.
Oh, that would make the community of persons who are deaf and hard of hearing very proud, and it also shows them that they are also limitless in their aspirations. So we want to always encourage not only them, but all persons with disabilities to reach out, because as we move closer to that 2030 agenda, which eliminates all forms of discrimination with persons with disability, it shows that the opportunities are being opened up, and so they can go ahead and, like I say, reach aspire to do anything, and like you see, you could get as high as getting an Oscar award. And so the motivation and encouragement is always there. Is now they have to act on it, and that not only in acting, but in any aspect or area of life, they seem to want to elevate it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you get the sense that, especially with young people here with disabilities, that they do get that sense, they do think like that there are really so few barriers, or at least these obstacles can be overcome?
Well, at this point, they are trying, I must say, the youth, and we just formed a special nonprofit organization that's going to be focusing heavily on youth development for youth with disabilities, trying to create avenues for them to really elevate in their chosen areas. And you would recognize when we visit the special needs schools that those children, they mimic what they see or hear on television, and just like any other youth or teen on the market, they believe they are the best at what they do. We have some rapping guys from one of the autistic school and what's not. We just need to provide the opportunities for them to really to be able to display what they are aspiring to do.
Yeah.
And then also other avenues to help them elevate or increase their skills.
Absolutely.
And then give them the opportunity to just rise like everybody else.
All right, so give us a few more details about the retreat and what you're hoping to do and how we can help. I know you're trying to raise funds, but how we can help, the public can help you to achieve this.
Well, like the retreat weekend, we'll be in Eleuthera from the 8th to the 10th. We're doing a welcome ceremony. We're doing a fishing tournament. We already got all the trophies and stuff. So we are so proud of persons on the island of Eleuthera agreed to partner with us and help the persons with disabilities and their fishing skills. And we'll be giving the trophies to the persons with disabilities, who catch the first fish and what's not. And outside of that, we are doing mix and mingles with the persons with disabilities on the island. We're doing a church service. We're also going to do an island tour so that we can visit historic sites on the island. Because a lot of persons with disabilities haven't gotten this opportunity, especially a lot in our group. So that's what we're doing. And so fundraising is is one of the most important factors of it, because we still have some outstanding bills there. With us carrying wheelchair users of what's not transportation is rather costly. And that's the reason for hosting this grill and chill event on the weekend. So a person should just come on and out, support, buy something to eat, buy something to drink, or if you want to make a donation to help the cause, you could make contact. Phone number is 556-1773, and we'll tell you who you can write the checks to. And yeah, that would be a great positive push to help us as we aspire to do different things now and for the foreseeable future with building our awareness campaign and inclusion for persons with disabilities.
Wonderful. All right. So again, it's the Disability Empowerment Retreat Grill and Chill this Saturday, April 2nd, 12 to 6 p.m., Christie Park.
Yeah, I want to also say thanks to the Grand Commandery Prince Hall Origin. They're one of our sponsors, also the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, and the One Family Junction Group, who is doing what they can to promote, and they'll also be performing to just encourage or draw persons to come there and support. Also, this Saturday is World Autism Day, so when we leave from there, we'll be heading down to Light It Up Blue, which is going to be at the Queen's College playing field. So this is a great day in the world of disability this Saturday, April the 2nd.
Absolutely. Kendrick Roll, always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much. Great information, folks. Come out and show your support Saturday, Christie Park, 12 to 6.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity, Dwight. You have a wonderful day.
You too. You too. We're going to take a break and be back with more. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Boy, you know what's going down tomorrow?
Nobody, what happening?
Joe bringing these knives to school. He could do Junior in.
For what?
Boy, he fooled with Joe girl.
Mother sick. And you know Junior don't bark down for nothing. So that means he got a big fight tomorrow.
So whose side you on?
Side? I trying to stay in school, not Simpson Pen. We gotta tell somebody about this fight.
Tell somebody? I ain't no snitch. I mean cool, you know.
Boy, if you so cool, then you need to stay in school and stay out of the fight.
Yeah, but if I don't hang on Joe's side, him and he boys coming for me next.
All right, so we definitely gotta tell somebody. We gotta prevent the fight.
What I say? But he called me snitch.
We could just call Crime Stoppers. You could report what you know, and nobody gotta know it's you.
So how did I boy?
All you gotta do is call them, or you text them through the Crack Crime Bahamas app, and nobody can know it's you.
Then the police come looking for me for more info, and when they finish with them, Joe them coming looking for me?
When you call Crime Stoppers, the calls go directly to Miami, and they don't ask nothing about you. Then you can get the pen from them, and you can claim a reward later using that same pen.
Plus, everything's scrambled, so nobody can read what you're saying.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Ready to save? You can put $100 into the CFAL Savings Express Plan and make sure your money keeps growing. Earn interest on your savings while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
And we are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan. And changing gears now, talking about the IMF. We told you about this last week. They made some suggestions on corporate and income taxes and even hiking VAT to 15%. They say that they call the resources placed by the government on strengthening tax administration well calibrated, but the IMF says those plans should go hand in hand with revenue enhancement measures, including corporate and personal income taxes for large businesses and high earners, and gradually increasing value-added tax to the 15% regional standard. In the concluding statement of the 2022 Article 4 mission, following its recent official staff visit to the Bahamas earlier this month. We're going to talk about this with our guest, Hubert Edwards, who is part of the Guardian family here and a financial expert. He's also writing about this in today's Nassau Guardian. Hubert Edwards, always a pleasure. Good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning, Dwight. It's always a pleasure to be here on your show.
The title of your piece in today's Nassau Guardian is quite interesting. It's the IMF's inconclusive concluding statement. And Boy, that says a lot. And this is a part one, so there's more coming. But let's get your overview on this. We're going to get into the interest rate issue as well in a bit. But your overall assessment of what the IMF is suggesting, recommending for the Bahamas.
Yeah, well, to begin with, of course, I've taken a little bit of a lease on, creative lease on the title, Inconclusive. The truth is that these concluding statements are usually less direct and have way less detail than the final report itself. And the expectation is that anything which may seem to be ambiguous at this point in time or a little bit unclear will become that much easier to understand once the full report is put out. But within the context of it coming out, I read through it myself in the first instance, and there were a number of themes that just came popping through, which I believe the IMF was kind of saying something without clearly saying it, or was kind of making some suggestion in a backhanded way. So I think overall, though, what they would have done is take a very close look at the government's proposition and policies and where the country is at this point in time, and they're seeking to influence, if you will, or make suggestions around policy positions going forward. That's basically what's happening here.
And many will wonder, what is the objective? Why do that? What's the aim? What's their horse in the race look like?
That's what the IMF does. The IMF goes around the world, and in a good way. Most of the time, sometimes the end result is not always that good, but basically support institutions and support governments and help to kind of protect the integrity of the global economic system. And so they have the capacity, they have the knowledge to provide technical support. And in interacting with government, in interacting with the authorities, I think they provide a valuable sounding board. They provide a means of validating policy position, and they also create an opportunity for pulling together disparate pieces of the state of a country, because as you would know, on these Article 4 mission, they speak to not only the government, but they speak to private sector, they speak to NGOs, they speak to a number of stakeholders, and they have the ability to then pull that all together, and the country benefits from it. It's not always necessarily a positive outcome, but largely the information which is provides government with a basis for either continuing on the path, making the requisite adjustments.
All right, so let's begin with the recommendations for taxes and corporate tax and income tax. We've been having this debate for years now, decades. Are they saying anything different from what's been said before? And then we can talk about the difference this would make.
In relation to taxes?
Yeah, to corporate taxes and income taxes. We've already agreed that we're going to look at a global standard for corporate tax. So they're just really doubling down on the fact that we have to do this, not just talk about it?
Well, I don't know. In the statement itself, there is nothing there which, just say go do corporation tax or go do, income tax. But it's basically, I think, laying out what the policy options are. And if you look very carefully, I think they took a look at the reforms which the administration put into place, those that would have been discussed a long time ago from before they created the blueprint for change. It was entrenched in that. And that was the issue of, reinstating the tax enhancement unit, making some changes around around property tax and doing some of the things which are going to be necessary to increase collection. And so if you look at the statement which was made, I think they gave that a 2 thumbs up. They say pretty much, the administration is spot on. I think the term they use is that the policy is well calibrated. Now, having said that, then they went on to, and this is where, and some persons may disagree because some persons have a better understanding of this. This is where in my article I indicated that this was a little bit cryptic. They then went on to immediately say, well, even though, and these are my words, even though that aspect of it is well calibrated, the authorities may wish to take a look at the regional peers and look at where VAT is, which is on average at 15%. They may wish to think about corporation tax or tax on high net worth individual, high earning individual, and so on and so forth. The conclusion from that, Dwight, is basically the work which has been done or the plans which have already been put into place. The IMF is basically saying those are spot on. But they're also raising a cautionary question. And the question is, will that or is all of that going to be sufficient to get to where you want to get? Bearing in mind that the administration has clearly outlined that it needs to get to a 25% revenue to GDP. And so, using that as a benchmark, I think the IMF is saying, good job on this area, but can you get to the 25% without having some form of increased tax measures? And I think that's kind of where the discussion has been for a long time.
Right.
Having this discussion explicitly in the marketplace. But for those who really follow this type of, I think we very well clearly understand that the effort to raise $1 billion over the next short while to get to a place where we have a surplus in 24-25 is going to be the basis on which the conversation change. Is it sufficient? Are the reforms in and of themselves sufficient to get us to that point?
All right, so this is really interesting. Is coming at a time, this recommendation, at least for VAT, to go gradually up to 15, coming as we've just reduced VAT to 10% on most things. And the government's insisting that, this likely will stay here for the foreseeable future. Do you think that is realistic? Do you think that's possible at all? And do we really need to have a discussion on how sensible it is to maintain it at this point?
To maintain the VAT at 10%?
At 10%, yeah.
Well, the reduction, and this is one of the interesting wrinkles, if you will, that I think popped out of the IMF concluding statement, because here they are representing to an administration which just reduced the tax from 12 to 10%, that maybe you should be looking at the potential of increasing it back to, maybe closer to where the peers are. I personally don't think right offhand that you are going to get, you're going to see the administration rushing in to make that change. Obviously, it's not simply the economics which is at play here. There's political capital to be taken into consideration. That the Prime Minister would have outlined the 25% revenue to GDP and would have commissioned a review, I think, from Dwight to look at the income tax, and would have stated very clearly that taxation would be the last resort. A measure of last resort means that the idea of tax increase is on the table. My reasoning is that as they go through this strategy, as they think through it, the hedge for this whole process is the extent and the speed at which we will have fiscal consolidation. By that I mean the extent to which we're going to recover. Tourism is going to be vibrant, and we are going to get to the place where we see returns of at levels, certainly at pre-pandemic levels, or hopefully beyond pre-pandemic level. And that would then take the edge off the need for an actual increase in tax. Or if there's an increase, the increase is going to be limited, or it could be simply limited to dealing with this 15% minimum corporation tax because of both the strategic and reputational impact that may have for the jurisdiction as a financial services, for the country as a financial services jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk some more about that, because sometimes it feels like we're trying to run away from that. It's chasing us. But it does seem that it's getting closer, and we're going to have to face this monster. But from your standpoint, where do things stand? What are we hearing other than we've agreed to consider this in the future? Are steps being taken, begun at all? What's happening out there with corporate tax?
Well, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no clear decision yet. We just really have to kind of rely on what has been said publicly. Not being an insider, you have to rely on what is said by the authorities. And sometimes there are rumors. And I think in this whole process, one of the things that I try to do is to avoid the rumor monger and listen to what has actually been said or written. So, getting to this point of education, I think, is a little bit early, because we really haven't made a decision in that regard. But when a leader, especially a prime minister, makes a statement, that statement must be taken seriously. And he said in one of his recent presentations that we will look at the minimum taxation because of the potential reputational impact that have, and obviously the strategic importance of that particular thing. So we have to assume that is being looked at in the boiler room. Persons are in the back kind of hammering that out. But of course, it has to be part and parcel of a comprehensive look at the whole tax regime, which is what I believe the government is doing now with the use of its consultants. And so at some point in time, early, because we are going into the season for budget, I think that is going to become clear. What also is clear to many of us, Dwight, but has not been explicitly spoken, is the difficulty, or maybe even the uncertainty, and the IMF kind of allude to this, is the uncertainty around the extent to which the reforms which have currently been put in place will get us to that 1 billion. Maybe it will get us to 500 million, maybe 700 million, I don't know. From my perspective, I hope it's able to do that, because it would reduce the need for a real increase in tax. But we have to be mindful, and I think this is where your question go to. I think we have to be mindful that anything which disturbs, disrupts, or changes the current tax regime for the Bahamas is never ever going to be an easy decision. It's a difficult decision, because a large part of the value proposition, especially of the financial services industry, rests on the current tax regime that we have. And so changing that is never going to be easy. Additionally, the psyche of the country, in terms of persons wanting to or having a desire to pay corporation tax or income tax, income tax for individuals, it's just not there. And that comes with its own set of consideration for a ruling party. The ruling party has to take that into the mix when it sits down to put together its strategy. At the end of the day, where we are today is fundamentally different from 2 years ago, from 5 years ago. And this is largely as a result of the level of debt that the country has and the fact that we are coming off the back of one of the the greatest financial crisis the civilization has seen. And so the pressures are challenges government have to date in terms of funding deficit, in terms of finding additional financing for its borrowing needs, in terms of the level at which bonds are being traded on the international market. You know that there are significant pressures. And so at some point in time, we have to ask the question, will all of us as citizens and residents be asked to do a little bit more so that the country can be better going forward? And I really think that the pronouncement of the 25% revenue to GDP is a clear signal of the need in that regard.
But that's always the concern, right? That we'll all be asked to do more and on the same level do the more, as opposed to those with more doing more. But
yeah, well, it depends on which route you go. If we continue down the road of VAT, which is generally regressive, then obviously the argument that you made will hold. But if there is a shift in the mix of tax treatment, so if there is more corporation tax and personal income tax, then obviously that is more progressive, and that takes a significant amount of edge off that particular conversation, because persons will be paying based on their earning potential or where they fall on the the certain regime, and depending on the levels of amounts which are allowed to be tax-free, and then the amounts which are taxable. So income tax, corporation tax could fundamentally change. And the question is, will we get there? And if we don't, what ought to get us the revenue which we desire?
Yeah. When to get to interest rates, but let's take this call first. Caller, you're on Morning Blend Business. We're talking with Hubert Edwards. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. Thanks for taking my call, and good morning to my friend.
Hi.
Yeah. I just have one quick question. The President Biden looking at raising tax 20% to the wealthy component. Do you think we have a lot of wealth, we have a lot of rich folks living here, and a lot going to be coming here in the future because of the wonderful islands of the Bahamas? Do you think we should raise the tax among the wealthy? Be able to be him and all the settle coming here. That's my question. I'll hang up and answer.
Okay. That's what we're kind of hinting at earlier, Hubert. The people who can do more being made to do more. It is risky. It is risky because they could say we don't need to put up with this. But what are your views on that?
I believe that the mega rich persons and the individuals who are attracted to the Bahamas are not only attracted to the Bahamas because of our tax regime. It's a big factor, yes. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. But a change in the overall regime, done properly, done with the right level of discussion, education, and sensitizing of the public, I don't think at the end of the day it's going to be fatal. When you look around the world, you see that there is going to be changes. The world today is facing the highest level of debt collectively in the history of mankind, I guess in the history of us, because it's just simply a significant amount of debt out there. Unfortunately, the Bahamas is in that category. Unfortunately, we are, one of these small island states with a significant level of vulnerability, and we have a very narrow economy. The economy is built basically on tourism and financial services and some other things out there, which have some potential, but they're not yet well developed. And so the question is that we have to ask ourselves and answer is, how can the government, how can any administration continue to provide the necessary public goods and services at a reasonable level also to facilitate the introduction of infrastructure so that the country can be positioned to grow in the future if it doesn't get additional revenue. The, if you think about the debt, Dwight, in terms of on a personal level. So let's assume that you make $10 per week, right? And your expenses, you have to spend $15. So you already in a deficit of $5, but you owe somebody, right? The probability of you paying off that debt in anytime soon, or in a manner which is going to make a mark reduction is very low. And so the thinking that we have to get to the place where we're starting to see surplus is absolutely important. Now, there is another way of doing that. And the other way would be to secure robust growth in the economy. And so if we are, for argument's sake, sitting at, say, overall, we're taking 10% of whatsoever revenue, or well, we are 19% revenue to GDP. If government is taking in 19% of the current 9 billion, if that was to suddenly balloon to 20 billion, then we would need to go to 25%. But that growth proposition, that growth possibility is some ways off, not only because of COVID, but even before we went through the pandemic, the Bahamas was at a place where it's not optimally positioned for growth. There are some important structural issues which needs to be fixed. There are some important reforms which are necessary right across the board, from energy to reforms of state-owned entities, to the ease of doing business, to fixing the roads, to looking at the concession machinery that the government uses as a means of attracting investment. There's a multiplicity of things which are done. And, if someone may think I am being overly dramatic, just take a look at the average growth rate over the last decade. We are really about 1.5 at best in terms of GDP growth. And so it tells you that the country is not in the best position, is not well seasoned for growth. So the alternative is to increase income intakes to some other means, at least in the near term.
Yeah, we've got to take a break, but I want to ask you, with the regional countries that have VAT near 15%, they are also doing customs and income tax and corporate tax. Are we seeing that generally? What does it look like in some of our neighbors?
Yes, the Bahamas is unique in terms of its tax regime. Comparable with countries like Cayman. If you take a Barbados or you take a Jamaica, Jamaica have GCT, which is the equivalent of VAT. It has corporation tax, income tax, education tax, national insurance tax, HARTS tax, which would be the equivalent of a tax for BTVI. It has a multiplicity of tax measures, and I think on average, persons in Jamaica pay, I think, 25%. On income tax, and the rate on corporation tax, I don't remember the number right offhand. But there is the Bahamas has greater room for taxing theoretically. The challenge and the limitation is the Bahamas is built differently than most other regional entities, regional countries. It's more similar to the Cayman. The Cayman have the benefit of having, better economic standing at this point in time. They are stronger. They have done some things over the years very well. They attract greater business in financial services. And so, and of course they have the support of UK, not necessarily financial support, but that comes with some sort of a sway. And we are different, and I think we have to respect those differences. And oftentimes when we lament that administrations have not done enough, I think it's the anxiety of those challenges the fact that, a change in the tax regime could be so disruptive that it hurts the Bahamas in the long run. I think some of those go into the consideration. But we are at a place and we are at a time, some of those concerns will have to take the back, the back burner, and we will have to bite the bullet. We may have to bite the bullet such that the country can survive and the country can thrive in the future.
Okay, we're going to get into the interest rate part of what the IMF recommended. After the break, talking with Hubert Edwards on Morning Blend Business on this Tuesday morning. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit.
Hey, it's your boy Naughty, and I want you to join me this Monday for my brand new show, Talking Heads, right here on Guardian Radio from 4 to 6 p.m. That's right, we got a lot of views and we got a lot of opinions that we need to express in the 242 right now from all sides of the divide. So I want you to join me and the relative Talking Heads right here in the 242 as we bring it to you 4 to 6 each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on Guardian Radio. We're talking local and international politics, news, headlines, entertainment, and sports. So buckle up. Afternoons, the business just picked up. 4 to 6, Talking Heads right here on Guardian Radio. Get ready to chime in. You're a Talking Head, too. We'll see you Monday.
We're good for you.
We believe in relationship banking. We take pride in getting to know our clients. You have access to knowledgeable, approachable ambassadors and financial coaches so that we can recommend the best product for you. At Fidelity, we care about you. From your financial health to your physical health, we can relate to you because we're just like you. Come and start your relationship banking experience with us today. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Visit any of our branches in Nassau or Grand Bahama, or phone 7764 in Nassau, or 352-6676 for Freeport.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's time for your morning business report, brought to you by CFAL. On its current track, gas prices could reach as high as $8 per gallon this summer. That's according to Vice President of the Bahamas Petroleum Dealers Association, Vasco Bastian, who says that prices are at an all-time high. This week, a gallon of gas hit $6.33 at Rubis gas stations, $6.16 at Esso, and $5.50 at Shell gas stations in New Providence. Bastian says it's the highest he's ever seen on New Providence, and he's been around the industry for about 15 years. He says he can't imagine it ever being higher unless there's some data he hasn't seen, but he can easily see it hitting $8 by this summer. Diesel's also at its highest. Boats and buses and the heavy equipment that use diesel, they've seen that go up as well. You can get the details, the sad and frightening details, in today's Guardian Business section. Minister of Housing and Transport Jo Beth Colby Davis says the cabinet hopes to soon settle on the best way to alleviate the burden placed on the sectors and industries most impacted by the sky-high gas prices. At the start of February, gas $5.09. However, this week, as we told you, they are peaking at $6.33. Colby Davis says the cabinet is seeking to strike the right balance in providing relief to motorists and industries. Local fuel suppliers have little control over the final price of fuel and do not hedge gasoline given the high risk of doing so, according to Focol Holdings Limited President Dexter Adderley, who says that it's hoped that other oil supplying countries will pick up the slack on fuel production in light of the problems with Russia's supply of oil to the world in the context of its war with Ukraine. And Inter-American Development Bank President Mauricio Claver Caron says that the bank's $200 million policy-based guarantee to strengthen the blue economy in the country is already netting results by helping this country mobilize $700 million in new financing. He contended that the IDB continues to produce innovative instruments to help countries to monetize and incentivize conservation, mentioning the bank's hand in helping Costa Rica to develop a natural asset class that would be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, essentially monetizing the country's conservation. In your market watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Monday. Your market movers: Doctors Hospital moving 6,000 shares, closing unchanged at $10.10. Finco moving 100, unchanged at $10. Consolidated Water unchanged at $2.08. Emira Incorporated unchanged at $11.87. And the BISX All Share Index closing at 2,299.09, unchanged. That's your market watch, and that is your morning business report, brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
If I look at traffic now, it's interesting to see before 9 the mad dash on some of our thoroughfares and certainly the deadlocks that some of our intersections had. Fortunately now, that is happening, but we still got a lot of the morning commute hanging about, attempting to get through. Fortunately, Southwest gateways can be commended. Lower traffic flow now leaving Gladstone Road. Same thing happening on Somalabala Highway. And certainly Carmichael Road getting up there onto Blue Hill Road. Blue Hill Road has picked up speed significantly. A lot of that heavy traffic that slowed it down has moved out of there. And the dual lane highways going into the roundabouts still have the remnants of the morning commute, but have improved significantly as well. The popular routes loaded like Soldier Road, Marathon Road have minimized the heavy flow of the traffic at this point. And even though there's some of the heavy traffic left on the Eastern Road, the flow has improved getting up there on the Shirley Street, even though Shirley Street at this time has slowed down riding into the Mackey Street intersection. We've got a similar situation coming from the west along West Bay Street. Once the west traffic got through the roundabout at Saunders Beach, the ride into the city has improved down, but quite active getting into the downtown area. And finally, it's easier now to get to the 6-leg roundabout that was very heavy with traffic before 9 o'clock. Once through there and getting onto either Farrington Road or University Drive to get into the downtown or city area, it's made much easier now. This final look at traffic now is brought to you by the folks at J.S. Johnson, the only insurance agent and broker giving you peace of mind in the Bahamas for over 100 years. You can call them at 397-2100. That's 397-2100 for more info. And VANN.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Protect the things that really matter to you. Shield Insurance is the insurance company that grows with you to meet your insurance needs through this beautiful adventure we call life. From automobile to home to boat, liability, construction, and business insurance, Shield has affordable policies, flexible options, friendly service, and the expertise to protect your hard-earned assets. Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau, call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
We're back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Hubert Edwards, my guest this morning, and we are talking about some recent statements from the IMF, some recommendations for the country. So they also recommended, Hubert, that we look at raising interest rates. Let's talk about that, why they're saying it, and of course there's been reaction from the government of the central bank on this. But let's talk about the IMF's perspective, why they are saying it.
Okay, so let's take it theoretically first. Theoretically, economics literature will tell you that if you increase your interest rates, you have the potential of increasing the value of your currency. That is, that's generally accepted. And that understanding, I think, leads us to ask the question as to how practical that particular recommendation is, given the fact that we already have a pegged rate. And we are at a place where the country is recovering from a pandemic. Some of the attendant impact of increasing interest rate would be to increase borrowing costs, increase the cost of mortgages. You would maybe put in pressure on domestic investors, especially who are looking to finance the business. And eventually that would then terminate into, on a macro basis, pressure on the overall economy to grow. And I don't think that this is a point in time. That certainly is one of the areas which I do not understand and I think is a little bit challenging. The article which I wrote, part one is out. In part two, I kind of, took a step back and asked, what would be the big picture effect of an increase in interest rate? And for the Bahamas, one big thing would be to discourage consumption. And then you ask yourself the question, where does the Bahamas consumption come from? Well, for the most part, we import it. And so I am asking myself, I don't know if I'm wrong or I'm right, but I'm asking myself whether or not the IMF isn't, in a backhanded way, saying to the country, you need to take a look at your balance of payment. You need to start to think that maybe demand for currency, demand for purchasing goods and services into the country, maybe could become challenged. There's a line in the actual concluding statement which says, should the environment disintegrate again and we have some challenges, the central bank may have to look at restricting capital flows.
Right.
And so kind of tying those two things together, it is a possibility that they're saying, hey, pay attention to this because that could have some implication ultimately for your reserves. Now, we heard from the governor of the central bank, and he's made it very clear that the reserves at this point in time is strong and robust, and we don't have much of a concern. I don't expect there to be any increase in interest. One of the attendant effect that would have would be to increase the cost of government debt in the domestic market to the extent that there are floating rates. And I think there are some still hanging around there, especially some of the earlier ones. And so overall, an increase in interest rate, while theoretically would increase the value of the currency, something which isn't necessary, I think, in a pegged environment. The downsides are just too significant, and I don't believe it represents, still waiting on the full report. But at this point in time, I don't think it represents good advice or good recommendation.
Yeah. So once again, this is similar to the first question I asked you. So overall, what should we make of this? Some of these, you have to question where they're coming from, and others, it's going to entail a lot to do.
Overall, we can take a couple of approaches. We can wait until the full report, which everything will become very clear, or we can take a slow read, a slow study, and realize that at the end of the day, if you boil this down to its simple essence, the IMF is saying to the government, look, I think you're doing some great things. I believe that in this thing, they were understated. In my article, I tried to put some of those up front. You're doing some great things, but at the end of the day, ultimately, we believe that there's going to be a need for increased tax measures. I think that's the essence of the whole concluding statement.
That's the bottom line there. More taxes.
That's the bottom line.
Oh, dear. Hubert Edwards, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Always my pleasure to be here.
All right. We can't wait to hear from you again. I think that'll be tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. On Guardian Radio AM and on The Essentials. Thursday at 6:30 p.m. All right. Thank you. That's it for us today for Morning Blend Business. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight, Strachan, have a great one. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.